Today I'm joined by Duncan Starr-Boltt, who is, let's more affectionately known as a high performance coach. Duncan, good to see you.
Great to see you, Jamie.
We were just chatting before we started. You're the person that helps people step into the person that they need to be now in order to achieve the results that they want. Whereas I think I've met a lot of people that wait until they achieve XYZ goal, and then they'll become that person and see themselves as that person. Is that a fair description?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great description. Thanks.
Okay. Right, I'm excited about this. So we've been chatting for the last couple of months about this and the work that you do in order to help people to achieve impossible goals. In your words, just explain what's the difference between normal goals and impossible goals?
Yeah. So, yeah, impossible goals. It's a brilliant concept, isn't it? It's firstly like it's. I just love the title. I'm all in. Someone said impossible goals. I was like that. I'm in. But there's actually there's reasoning behind it, and it's very sound reasoning. So when most people don't even set goals. So if you're setting goals, that's amazing. Like you're in the top percent. But then when we set goals, we set realistic goals. And I think, when we're using realistic in a goals context, it's a negative. It's actually takes a negative trait on and really limits us. So when someone sets a realistic goal, they're going to be it's going to be based on what they're currently doing. So that's the key thing. So it's improving what they're currently doing, and that might be for 2 times being twice as good, twice as much income as they're currently on. And then the negative side of that is you're already busy, so it means being twice as busy. So yeah, you can create systems and hire people and outsource to do that, but it's a tough process. Whereas, and it's a process that doesn't make you transform; it just makes you incrementally improve. And a lot of people love the 80-20 principle, and that's a big transformational principle. And what impossible goals do is you set a goal that's so big that it's impossible to achieve based upon what you're currently doing. And that's the key thing. So when you aim that high, you have to stop doing what you're currently doing. You have to look at things differently. And the way I do it is I do a lot of visualization with people. I really put them in the shoes of that person who's achieved those things. And then we say, what are you doing differently now? What have you stopped doing? And what are you doing more of? If that makes sense.
Total sense. I'm a huge fan of this. Like you said, an incremental goal, 10, 20, 30, 100% growth, most people will do just by working harder.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
I'm good at what I do. If I just work a bit harder and get a few more clients like this, then I can grow by X%. What we're talking about is a complete step change where they need to change what they do materially on a daily basis. And there's a lot of shedding involved in that, I think, isn't there?
Yeah. And that's what I've learned is to go to. So I'll use the 80-20 principle, which I love, is when you go for an impossible goal, you have to apply the 80-20 principle. So that's understanding that 20% of what we're doing is producing 80% of our results. So it's about doing the big high impact things, and that's a great principle. But it's hard to apply because most people try and apply that whilst they're still doing the 80% as well, and it's really tough because you're doing really challenging things and you're still juggling loads of things. So yeah, going 80-20, as I often call it, is about stopping loads. It's mainly about stopping, creating this. You're creating a real space so that you can, I've done it myself, and I've really shortened my working day as a result. I do more fun things in my spare time, and yeah, you just sort of step, like you said before, step into the shoes of that person who is already successful.
And I think one of the things is becoming more of an expert or an influencer not as in a celebrity, but being influential in your field on that, you can command higher prices for being better at it. And the more niche specialist you become, the bigger your reputation grows, and everything just spirals upwards rather than downwards.
Yeah, yeah, completely. And you can't become, so when you stop, when you focus on your 20%, which is what we're talking about, you become an expert, and so it's not about it's about not just doing the big things. It's about spending more time doing the big things, creating more space in your diary to be great at what you're at what you're great at, what you love. So it's so different to what most people are doing. That's what makes it hard to do.
Let's just pause on that for a second then, because I think you've got to a point with the way that you live your life and your business that a lot of people meet you and go, now that's the life that I want. So just explain how you live your life.
Yeah, thank you. So we've kind of designed our ideal life. So we spend eight months of the year living in Crete. We've got a villa, it's like 400 meters from the beach. So we can walk there. I start my day with snorkeling. It's really, we picked the perfect place for us. And then I've built my business after that, if that makes sense. So I really we focused on our ideal life first, and then we've built my business around that.
And what was your business and your career that led you to this point then?
Yes, I ran a CrossFit gym for 12 years. I sort of owned and ran that, and I was in the health and fitness industry for 20 years, but I always, Tim Ferriss's book, the 4 Hour Work Week. So I read that quite early, and I ran a 4 Hour Work Week company, like drop shipping exercise equipment. And he's big on the 80-20 principle. So I've always been like a less is more kind of approach to life. And then when the gym eventually got running well, I was really overwhelmed. I got to the point where I struggled to sleep and relax. And then I really got into like meditation, yoga, breath work, and like really mastering my own mind. I spent a lot of time in India and things like that. But in order to do that, I had to get my business running itself. So I got the gym. I implemented an amazing system called the Coach for Life system, which I went out and found a system. I realized you've got to stop reinventing the wheel. Often we try and reinvent the wheel when there's loads of great systems out there that people have already mastered. So I was just like, I'm just going to have a look and see if anyone's already mastered running a CrossFit gym. When I read it into the Coach for Life system, I was like, this is perfect. So I hired them to implement the system. 3 months later, me and my wife were traveling the world, and the gym would completely replace myself. And the gym was growing. The gym was able to grow while we were traveling. So, and it's because it was a brilliant model. Like the members were looked after better. The coach was really well paid. I really like. Have you come across? There's amazing systems, isn't there?
I've not heard of Coach for Life though.
It's just such a good system. So what they did was every member has their own coach, so that they have their own personal trainer, and every 4 to 6 weeks they have a one-to-one with him, and the coach was paid 30% of the income from membership. So they were like basically a partner in the business, because I think the gym, the costs were about 30%, the coach was getting paid 30%, and I was getting paid about 30%. So it was a really fair system. And then the members really looked after, because they have like a coach who really looks after them, because he doesn't want them. He doesn't want them to leave. So so they were in exercise classes with that coach. So so it was like having one-to-one, but in a group environment as well. So it worked really well.
I like it. And the world of health and fitness and well-being has changed dramatically in the last 10 years, hasn't it? I see so many more people now investing a lot more in their health and wellness. And it goes hand in hand with running a business now. I think that the old way of looking at it was work is hard work and you do all that and sacrifice your life and your health in order to do well in business. But the new way of doing it is that they go hand in hand. And the more that you look after yourself, the better your business does, and vice versa.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think applying that to what I'm doing now with people, like the more fun you're having, you know what I mean, in your life, the more happy you are, the more energy you have, the more you switch off after work as well. That's really infectious. People want to be part of, they want to work with you, don't they? When you have that kind of energy.
I read something the other day about people in business since the rise of AI, how they're doing more deep work now. So they're deep into thought, and that our brain isn't capable of coping with working at that level for as many hours as we maybe perhaps have done. So we talk about the 80-20 rule. And if we were to, I don't know, let's say a part of my day was copying and pasting something to perform some manual task. In the olden days, it would have been factory work, but it's not mentally taxing, it's physically taxing. So we've got some repetitive work, and then we start to automate that. And it's a bit like when COVID first happened and we all suddenly went, oh, I don't need to travel anywhere. I can just have Zoom calls all day. And people were doing back-to-back Zoom all day and then wondering why they were so exhausted, because all they'd done was chat with people. But it's using a part of our brain that's not capable of working at that level for so long. Have you seen a change over the last couple of years of people, I guess, approaching burnout quicker?
You do meet. You meet. I think a lot. Like what you're saying there is so important to understand. Like a lot of people don't look at their brain and think about what it's got to cope with and how it's supposed to function. So many people are overwhelmed. I think with and there's no. There should be. I mean, there should be an exact guidance on what, it should be explained to us how we're supposed to use our brain and things like that. But there's a lot. I meet a lot of people who are overwhelmed. Like I met this amazing person. Often I'll meet amazing business owners, and they're just this incredibly inspiring person, like who's ambitious, and then when I mention like breath work to clear their mind, which is one of the tools I like to help people with, they're like, wow, my mind's never still, like never. And I was like, oh well, look, just 15 minutes, just listen to this guided practice for 15 minutes, follow along, and your mind will be clear. And they're just like, surely not. Do you know what I mean?
That sounds too easy for it to be true.
Yeah, and there is tools out there that literally will clear and completely clear our mind, and like a good way to explain it is like a yoga class. If you spend an hour on a yoga class, you're so busy you've turned, because how the brain, so we have our attention span. So all day, if we're thinking, we're in the thinking world. So we're up here thinking all the time. There's a lot of momentum thinking. So a lot of people are thinking constantly in their mind. And our attention span can be either on thoughts, on feelings, like emotions, or on sensations, and the external world as well. Like, the more we feel, the more we pay attention to sensations, the less we think, because you can't do the two things at once. You literally can look at one or the other. You can't do the same. And if you're doing both at the same time, you're just going 1, 2, 1, 2. That's how you're doing it. So when you do a yoga class, you're in the physical sensations of the body and the breath. You're very busy. You can't think. You're too busy. And also you're using the breath to relax. If you've got the right yoga teacher, they're saying relax, calm down, slow down, let go. So for the whole hour, you're just letting go of all this tension and you're paying real attention. So that all that momentum of the mind is gone after an hour. But not, an hour a day, like yoga is great. An hour a day isn't practical for most people. Whereas breath work.
Where do I find an hour a day to do that?
Yeah, that's the thing. So yoga works, but not in that context. So whereas breath work's really quick, breath work does exactly that, but in like 15 minutes, if that makes sense.
Why do people come to work with you, Duncan? So if you're helping people achieve phenomenal, well, let's just go back to impossible goals. What kind of goals counts as an impossible goal?
Yeah, so an impossible goal is normally you kind of aim for something like 10 times growth in your business. You don't have to achieve 10 times growth, but you do have to aim that way to think differently, to actually apply the 80-20 principle. So yeah, some of the goals, like one of my favorite clients is, I worked with him. He's a amazing software developer, and he works for a lot of big companies, putting software together for them, like implementing AI and things like that for them. But he needs to produce his own software, because he wants to at some point sell that and retire. And he had the concept when I worked with him, but then now we've been working together for about 3 months in. He'd pretty much produced it, and now we're the software's produced, and now we're very close to. He's got a few customers already who bought into the software. Yeah, we're very close to just implementing a system to really roll that out, which is really exciting.
Very exciting. I love this. I am vision-led, goal-led by what I do. So I have the big vision of where I'm going to, but I need metrics. I'm a numbers person as well, so I like that. And I like to stretch myself to the point that people go, that's ridiculous. And then that drives me forward as well. So I don't go around telling everyone about what I'm doing, but I'll share it with my inner circle of people. And sometimes people are like, really? Do you just need to bring that down a little bit? And then that's where I know I'm at the right level, and it stretches me out of my comfort zone. And I view we all have a comfort zone, and I view comfort zone like glue. It's a bit like an elastic band. We can stretch it, and then it pulls us back. Yeah. We need to break that bond in order to move out of our daily routine, and that can come in different forms. So it might be that we need to get comfortable with public speaking, talking about ourselves. I think I see a lot of people when they leave corporate life and start a business, they don't want to be the face of the business. They don't want pictures of themselves. It feels really vain, doesn't it, to have a brand shoot and have yourself on the website and across your social media. But that's what people buy from in a business. People buy from people. And then who am I to aim for a multi-million turnover business? Well, why not? Everybody's capable of doing something. We just need to become the person that runs that business, that delivers those results for clients. And it's like I think we said at the start, it's stepping into that person now and seeing themselves. So how do you help people with that transition?
Yeah, that's such a good point. I liked your point about that we're going to become that person anyway, or someone's already that person, so why not us? And I think that's such a good way of looking at it. We're often like, people are often said, well, I can never do that, and you're like, well, that person over there is doing it, and they're just normal. That's just a normal person. They've just what's changed? What's the difference between them and who we are now? And that's when we start asking that question. That's when it's quite easy to get someone to shift. So with vision, like we are. You'll like this one, Jamie. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you before. So our identity, who we believe we are, okay, is so our identity shapes our behaviours. So it shapes how we talk. It shapes how we think. It shapes the decisions we make. Our identity is, kind of exactly how you described who someone thinks they are, and our identity is based on our thoughts, just based entirely on our thoughts of the past and thoughts of the future. Because we can't have thoughts of the now; they'd be past, because now's so quick. So it's either the past or the future. And previously, I did NLP coaching. You can really help someone change their past. You can get rid of like phobias and things like that, and negative experiences. But it's quite confronting, this kind of work, and it takes time, and sometimes repetition. But changing someone's future is very easy. Like, we could do that in an hour. We could do that in 5 minutes, but if we want to do it properly, like an hour, we can change your vision for the future. And then, like with some of the exercises I've got of like a bit of visualization. So, I put them on a beach, imagine they've achieved these wonderful things, and then, imagine that, really put that in the context. And so first I'll get them to write it out. So writing things out is incredibly powerful. The vision, you'll get them to write their vision out. Okay, and so that becomes very real when we write something. So that's an important process. And then I'll put them in the shoes, and we'll do a visualization to really cement that. And then we have access to this powerful vision of ourselves, this person who we can say to them, "What are you doing differently? What have you stopped doing?" And the stop doing is so powerful for people. I asked someone the other day, I was like, what have you stopped doing? They're like, well, I've stopped doing free work. I've stopped dealing with people, giving people discounts. So that's really cool. And so that's one of the tools. And then another tool is I suppose all the tools I'm using are based on that. Is based on that person, and we're just asking them, just getting them to transition into that person now, and it happens through repetition. After a few weeks of this, you genuinely can shift. You have to shift other things in your life as well, but I'll tell you that in a minute. Does that all sound?
Yeah, definitely. I think with ourselves, we treat ourselves differently than we do things. So we all have a car, or majority of people have got a car, and we take it in for regular servicing, and then we'll fine tune it to keep it running at optimum levels, and we look after it, and it's a valuable thing, and we want to make sure it's like that. With a house, we maintain our homes, and we invest, and we'll regularly decorate and clean and maintain it, and we don't let it run down, because it's probably the biggest thing the asset that we've invested in. And yet with ourselves, we don't do anything, and we let. If you imagine with your car, you wouldn't put diesel in a petrol car, or you wouldn't put water in. You'd make sure you buy, if it's an unleaded car, or if it's an electric car, you'd put electric in it. And yet with our head and the way that we think, sometimes we unknowingly let the wrong stuff in, and that can have a dramatic impact on what comes out.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like is the frog analogy. So a frog's in a bucket, and when one frog tries to climb out, all the other crabs in a bucket. When one crab tries to crawl out, all the other crabs pull it back down again, and it's in the wrong environment. And when we're surrounded by the wrong kind of people, we don't realize the impact that's have of them pulling us down to their level, because your change makes them feel uncomfortable.
Very much.
And it comes back to comfort zone and that glue feeling. I'm all for this. We're speaking the right language here.
And I wanted to share another, so this is a really good insight. So, if you want to go 80-20, which is kind of what I'm talking about, you have to kind of do it in your life as well. And that's when it shifts. So I joined the David Lloyd's, which is 5 minutes from my house here in Cambridge. And I can get there in 5 minutes. I can swim every day, and it is luxurious. It's expensive gym, really expensive. But I'm in that environment. Like you said, I've changed my environment, and it's something every day that I'm excited to do, and that makes a big difference. Having something every day that you're excited to do, then you can do the big things. Whereas I think a lot of people are going wrong. They're trying to eat the frog every morning and do the big things, but they haven't got something they're excited to do. They're not. There's no reward there, and I think the rewards is important.
So one of the things in my daily routine, well, there's a few things. I start the day with a Yorkshire tea. It's a non-negotiable. I need to have that before I'm doing anything. And rightly or wrongly, I write my first LinkedIn post of the day. It's a routine. It's a habit. If I haven't done it, something doesn't feel right. And I'm probably 4 years into that. There's a handful of days where I've not posted first thing in the morning on LinkedIn. It's just part of my routine now. I'm wired to do that. I take the dog for a walk. So we've got a Cocker Spaniel. So walking him every day, twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. My office here is a basement, so there is no window. Whilst it's great, and that when we have the occasional, and they are occasional heat wave in the UK, it's lovely and cool. The rest of the year, it's cool. But there's no daylight here. So for me, my reward is I do my work and then I get out. I really like a good flat white. So I don't drink coffee at home. I walk across town. We live in the middle of town. So I walk across town. My favourite coffee shop does great coffee. Hi, Jamie. Usual. They're making it as soon as I walk in. I don't even need to order it. And then sometimes I'll get served before other people because they just make it and give it to me and take my money, whilst there is a bit of a queue sometimes. And that's that. I love that service, and you don't get that from chains very often. So it's a privately owned business. These are just the little rewards that I have built into my day that bring me joy and I look forward to, and occasionally I might treat myself to a bacon sandwich in there as well. I could make one at home, I could buy it from anywhere, but I need to have done something in order to do that. So I build in reward into the things that I do during the day, and part of that is just getting out. You know, I used to, when I had a job, walk my dog in the dark, go to work all day, come home, walk the dog in the dark at night. The joy that I get from walking during daylight hours when it suits me is unbelievable. And then the other part that I've realised is blocking my diary off as well. And time blocking is a thing that people do, and I never really thought that I did it, but I do it. I'm one of those reluctant people that doesn't want to be told what to do, but then I realise that I am actually doing that some of the best practice that people have. Nobody can book a meeting with me on a Monday or a Friday.
Brilliant.
My diary's just blocked out. Now I work, but it's my choice, and I changed Fridays. So my as we're listening to this, I'm 4 weeks away from getting married. So my fiance went part-time last year, so that if it's nice weather on a Friday, she has Mondays and Fridays off, then I've got nothing in my diary. Brilliant. Unfortunately, on days like today and tomorrow, it rains because I'm in the UK. So I'll usually end up working, but it's my choice. And I've realised over the years that I need to be very precious with my time. And I come across so many people that don't have gaps in their diary. They just work. And we've got to build in, that's what you're saying, you work with your clients to help them build in the important stuff into their diary. Are you familiar with the rocks and the sand?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, tell me. Yeah.
So I mean, I like it because it's really visual. So if this was a container and we filled it full of pebbles and filled it with pebbles to the top, most people would say that it's full. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, over time, we can add other things into that. So we can fill it with sand that goes in between the gaps of all the big rocks, and then people think it's full. And then you can come with the last part where you pour water into it and it still takes water, and then it becomes full. And my version of this is that most people just start with the sand and the water, and they forget the really important stuff, which is the rocks.
Yeah.
And the rocks is the things like being able to take time off when I want, being able to go and do a yoga class if I want, being able to fit in a holiday with the family. I speak to so many people that are in business, and they get to the summer, and I spoke to someone the other day, and he said I think it was Thursday and it was half term the following week. And he said, my wife's just asked if I can have 3 days off next week. But I'm fully booked. So you've got to plan ahead with the big stuff, the important stuff.
Yeah.
And when, like you said, when you focus on the 80-20 and you work out what is the important stuff and you chip away at some of the other things. And it's not that we necessarily, they don't stop happening, do they? It's just that somebody else does them who enjoys doing that stuff. Like for me, in my last, I don't know about you, Duncan, but I used to commute a lot. So my commute to the office in my last job was 76 miles. I did that for 7 years.
Oh, wow. That's, yeah.
150 miles a day I was driving, and it was probably the best part of 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
This is why I love Zoom calls. I really enjoy in-person stuff, but it's so time-consuming. And for me, the hack that I get is I can still have that meeting with somebody, but it doesn't take as much time as it used to, which frees up time for me to do other stuff.
Yeah.
And the more of the other stuff that I do, the better I become at the good stuff that I do.
That's brilliant. And it's yeah, I really like that analogy. The stones one. It's really nice just seeing the important things in your life as the stones, the big things. That's a nice one, and it's nice to, because you're an inspiring guy, Jamie. So it's nice to hear that, you know, how you keep, you know, it's exactly what I was saying. Like you know, going for coffee, you're going out for coffee. People don't do that. They'll be like, oh, I'll just make one at home.
Yeah. I could buy. You know, I spend £3.50 for a nice coffee, and I go most days of the week. I could buy a nice coffee machine for less than that for what I spend on coffee a year, but I enjoy getting out of the house, the fresh air. It's a 5-minute walk. I reflect on stuff. It lets me let stuff disappear as well. And then I have a bit of banter in the coffee shop with staff. All of that changes how I feel and how I show up when I come back.
Yeah, it's how you feel. You know, it makes you feel. It makes you feel like you're treating yourself. It's a luxurious thing, isn't it, to go out for a coffee and and that's those are the things that really shift us. Those kind of behaviours.
I'm really fortunate. We live in the middle of town, so everything is just a few minutes walk for me. The other thing that I have, and I heard this from, and I did this unknowingly in a previous job. I used to have an office, in my first business. I had an office in a college, and it was a new build, multi-million-pound college, and there was a Costa coffee there. So if people said to me, oh, let's have a meeting, I'd say, have you ever been to the college? It's got a Costa, let me show you around. So everyone would come to me. And it would save me so much time because I didn't need to drive to them. I bought the coffee, happy to buy everybody coffee if they drive to me because it saves me so much time. And then I heard a podcast of this guy in the US, and he was building his franchise, and he'd launched in Austin, and he was flying to other cities to go meet people, to then have a great meeting, to then invite them back to head office to find out about becoming a franchisee. And he had this epiphany one day that he was driving all over the place, flying all over the place, having one meeting a day. Whereas if he invited people to fly to him, he skipped the middle part of travel to them to then invite them back. And if they weren't too keen on coming to see him, he'd offer to pay for their flight because he would have paid to fly to see them in the first place.
Yeah.
But then he meant he could have 3 meetings a day and still have breakfast at home with his family and be at home for dinner at night.
Yeah, that's smart. That's what we're talking about. Those kind of things. So powerful, aren't they?
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, one of the things that I've realised with networking is as well, and I've built it's a great business. That's how we've met through Circle Networks.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And everybody comes to my events. I don't go to anybody else's events anymore because we run really good events for people and they have great conversations and their business grows. Why do I need to go somewhere else? And then we've just grown from word of mouth. And it sounds like the same thing's happening with your business, that people will see the change in your clients, and then over time, people go, do you know, how are you having such good results? Oh, you need to speak to Duncan.
Yeah. Thank you. It's good to hear that because and the Circle Network has been a big part of that, like a really big part of that. I think we were talking about the people you're the product of the people you spend your time with, and everyone in the circle. I'm sure that comes from you. They're just it's very different. It's very different. They look after each other. If you put an event on, they come. That the people are lovely. Just it's like normally networking events can be stressful. Or you can go with an agenda, whereas it's like going home. Chatting with your mates, the circle.
Thank you.
It's really nice. And then you've got like the speaking opportunities you have on there, I just think all in you've created what people really need.
And I think one of the things, and this is where you fit into that, when I first sat down to design Circle Networks, I didn't want it to be networking. I wanted it to be something different. So it's a community that supports people as their business grows. That's the way that I explain it. Everybody understands networking, so it gets labelled as networking. But you're right. So many people don't like networking.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that. We run events that help people build relationships and build friendships. And then a byproduct from that is you get recommended to other people. Part of it as well, though, is that there's this infrastructure to help you scale your business. So I might come along to one of our events because someone says, oh, go and try Circle Networks. And then I hear you speaking at one of the events. And I go, that's what I've been missing. I quite like him. And somebody else told me about him. And then I connect with you. And then we have a few meetings. And people don't tell you straight away. They don't go, Duncan, I just met you, but I think you need to be my coach. They come into our world. And then over time, they're secretly checking us out. They don't go, right, I'm going to connect with you and we're going to have a few coffees virtually or in person. And I'm just making my mind up about when I'm going to tell you that you're going to be my coach. But they're just checking us out. They're doing their due diligence. Do I like this guy? Is he reliable? Does he do what he says he can do? And then they go, right, I'm ready now. What we would really like, though, is at the point that they make that decision that they tell us, at some point I'm actually going to work with you. Or people don't often tell us about the people that they've recommended us to.
Yeah.
So I could be a raving fan of yours and tell everyone, but I never actually tell you.
Yeah.
And that's one of my things that I help people with. If I'm going to recommend you to someone, Duncan, I'm going to tell you because I need your help in order to make that introduction the best it can be. Yeah. And that serves two purposes. One, it lets you know that you're doing the right stuff. But two, you know your business better than me. And if I'm going and, I don't know, I might go, you want to achieve your goals? Duncan can make you a millionaire within 2 weeks. That's probably the wrong message to be delivering. And it's going to cost you £10 million and he'll do it straight away. There's probably a better way to do that. So if I'm telling you and asking you and you go, right, so here's who I would like to meet and here's what to say and what to do. And I think what you're saying, it just happens naturally within our events, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And you kind of, to be that, to do that, to communicate that you're good, you need to have people who you've worked with and people who recommend you and people who think you're good and people who know you, like you said, and your network does all of that. It's hard to show up online and just say, oh, I'm great at what I do, if you don't have a community who because you want to be authentic. It has to be true if you're going to say, well, it should be true if you're going to say it.
So, it takes time. I think particularly in the coaching world, I've experienced this myself. When we start off or join a new community, nobody knows us. So, of course, you're going to say you're good at what you do, Duncan. Yes. But I need to hear it from somebody else. And then, straight away I can think of two people that have been raving about the work that you do. John Boatman. I was on a call with him the other week and he was, do you know what? Duncan Starr-Boltt has just made such a huge difference to me in my business, how I feel, how I show up, and I'm seeing it in the results in the business. And then me and Chris Griffiths were chatting the other week about impossible goals, and he was like, it wasn't that I was reluctant, Jamie, but I can see it from a different perspective now, and everything's just falling into place.
Well, that's great to hear. That's really nice to hear.
So people tell other people, but they might not tell you. And you're the most important person that needs to hear this sometimes.
But that, hearing that's lovely. Yeah, thank you.
So if someone was interested to find out more about what you do, Duncan,
Yeah.
what's the best place to connect with you?
Oh, yeah, LinkedIn's great. Send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm pretty. That's something I monitor. If that makes sense. And then, the best thing to do with me is just have a chat. I like to. I think coaching's an experience. So I like to kind of work with someone a bit first, and then they can say, yeah, this works for me. I'd like to go with coaching for you. So I would say if you're and what I'm really good is helping people figure out what they want to do with their life, in not just in work and life. So if you'd like to have that chat, just connect, and it'd be lovely to have it.
What a great way to end. You help people have a great work and life balance. And it's not a balance, is it? It's busy in one and quiet in another at some point, and they move in ebb and flow, I guess. But to enjoy both parts of it is usually what people are missing.
Yeah, very much. And it's very few people prioritize enjoying their life when they're working too hard. So I help people connect with that.
I love it. Thank you. Okay, right. If you've never heard of Duncan before until today, go and find him on LinkedIn. The advantage that you've got, Duncan, is that you're probably the only Duncan Starr-Boltt on LinkedIn.
Yes, yeah, we made up that surname.
Just for search purposes.
Yes.
That's a really good advantage. And I'm very excited about this. I think there's a lot of people get frustrated, stuck with where they're at, and don't quite know that there are some tools and techniques and people that can help you achieve those impossible goals. Why not? And if you're listening to this, why not you?
Yeah, brilliant.
Everybody starts off with nothing. Everybody starts off as a new startup. It's only by surrounding yourself with the right people. And I think, wow, so one of the things that I've realised is all the best people have had coaching.
Yeah, it's so true.
All the best. They might not go around telling everyone about it, but nobody succeeds alone. There is a whole team of people that help them do that, and you are fast becoming one of those highly recommended people that people rave about, Duncan.
Well, that's brilliant to hear. Yeah, and I've had a lot of coaching, so yeah, I agree.
Thank you very much. Okay, I've enjoyed this.
Oh, thanks so much, Jamie.